Hello, my name is Ann Chapman, and I have decided to try doing a YouTube channel on storytelling. And at the end of this video, I will be telling two short stories. But first, I'd like to give you a little bit of insight about myself. I grew up in Prescott, Arizona. I was always in school plays and church programs where I had to memorize my little piece. I went to nursing school after high school. I went to Northern Arizona University and became a teacher, and I taught for 30 years. After I retired, which was like 16 years ago, yay team, I started volunteering at my church. In addition to doing that, I went on several mission trips with Wycliffe Associates, and Wycliffe Associates translates the Bible into the heart languages so people can understand it in their own language. I also have been on mission trips with One Child and Compassion International, which are child sponsorship organizations. The thread that goes through all of them is I've always told stories. So what I want to do is to tell stories, and I will be reading some stories, I will be telling some stories. It just depends. So there will be a wide variety of things. There will be some poems, Shel Silverstein for the kids, and maybe some, more adult poems. And when I say more adult, I want you to understand it's not like mature audiences only. It's not that kind of thing. What it is that the children might not understand or appreciate what it's about. I have several other ideas, for instance, telling family stories. I have some wonderful children and grandchildren. I didn't mention that. I have 2 children and 10 grandchildren, and they're all marvelous people, and I wish you could know them all. So that being said, I'm going to, sometimes a story comes about because someone didn't take something I said the way I intended. So actually you're going to get 3 short stories this time. So one of my character flaws is that when I'm offered the opportunity, it's very hard to resist. So, for instance, when I was in nursing school, I was the only African American in the entire program. So my roommate and I were talking at night one time, and I said something about being the blonde sheep of the family. That was supposed to be as opposed to the black sheep of the family. But she didn't get that. So she said, "Are you really blonde?" Now here's where my character flaw kicked in. I felt I had no other answer to say but yes. She said, "But your hair is dark." I said, "Well, most of you go out on the weekends, and if I need to, I will touch it up then and get rid of the boxes." My mother was really embarrassed about it when I was born, and she used to put a dark rinse on it, and I just kept on doing that, and so I dye it so it stays black. And I said, I have thought about letting it grow out, but it just looks so funny doing that I don't do that. She said, "Oh." Next character flaw. I didn't correct her right away. Sorry. She went and told her boyfriend, who did not believe her. And after that, I did tell her I was just kidding. So that's story number 1, which was not really, as I said, intended to be a story. The next one is one of my favorite stories told by one of my favorite people, my grandson. And when he was a little guy, we were coming out of Sunday school, and his mother said, "Tell Grandma Ann what you learned in Sunday school. I have to back up just a little bit so I can do this a little bit. Maybe you can see it. And so he said, once there was a giant, and David got a rock and hit him in the head, and he fell down. I was so impressed that I asked him to do it again. And he did exactly the same way. I couldn't keep asking him to do that, though, because he might knock himself out at some point. Now he is a theater major at Fordham University, and it perfectly fits who he is. My next and last one is called Why Frog Has a Flat Hand. Way back, many days before we were around, Frog walked around like we did, and he had regular hands that were fat, you know, and he had a farm, and he had planted acres and acres of corn. Well, when the time came to harvest the corn, he couldn't do it by himself, and his friends and neighbors from all around came to help him harvest the corn. And they got it all in. There were like 500 of them. He was so grateful that he went to each one and he said, thank you so much. He shook each hand. Thank you for helping me. Thank you for helping me. Oh, I appreciate what you did. I couldn't have done it without you. And after shaking those 500 hands, his hand was no longer fat, but it was flat. Now, my next story, which I will do on the next video, is about one of my favorite characters, and his name is Epaminondas. And it is suitable for all ages. I will tell you if I think the story should be for an older child, and so you'll have an idea of what you want to check out. I also do plan to do some chapter books that can be read in 2 or 3 sessions. So I do hope you will come back and hit the subscribe button, and I'd like to say thank you for listening. Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening. I thank you for listening, and I hope you'll come back for another video. You have a blessed day. Bye-bye.